Games are too long and too boring, constantly rehashing the same tired formulas again and again. So, to free you from this drawn-out monotony, I've gathered 6 of the most uniquely twisted games that won't waste your time.
Unholy meteors fall from the sky, and darkness overtakes us. I am reborn.
Not only is Sinner: Sacrifice for Redemption one of the most unique RPGs in a while, you can also complete it in an afternoon. That is, if you're ready for some pain. Sinner: Sacrifice for Redemption feels like Dark Souls, Shadow of the Colossus, and the movie Seven had a baby, and that baby wants to take everything from you. It's a punishing action RPG, I think, from first-time indie studio Darkstar and published by another indie. It was released on my birthday in 2018, happy birthday me, for last-gen PlayStation and Xbox consoles, PC and Switch, and that last one may have been a stretch. Take the foundation of a Souls-like with punishing combat, strip away the story, yeah, we all know how much Souls-likes focus on story, oh yeah, and strip away the rest of the game too, leaving only the bosses, and you start to get a sense of what this game is. You fight a series of bosses that each represent one of the 7 deadly sins. On its face, this is a really interesting concept. The deadly sins, known as capital vices, carry a lot of religious significance. So fighting bosses that represent each sin not only intrinsically carries this weight, but also opens the door to a lot of creativity and variety. And that proves to be true. The boss fights are a real highlight. They're also pretty much the whole game. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. So it's more or less just a boss rush game then? Well, yeah, but it adds this very interesting and unique twist, one that you find in the game's title, Sacrifice. Before facing each boss, you'll have to give something up. Before fighting greed, you have to give up some health and stamina. For pride, you give up attack power. For gluttony, the number of restorative items, and so on. The sacrifice you make becomes permanent once you defeat the boss. So instead of getting more and more powerful as the game goes on, like in most games, in Sinner, you actually get progressively weaker. The structure reminded me of the old school Mega Man games, but in reverse, where you can pick the boss stage in any order based on what you will, or in this case, won't bring in with you. The concept is unlike anything else, even if a bit shallow, but it won't overstay its welcome. Even with the couple playthroughs needed to nab all the trophies, it'll take around 8 hours. But not all is sunny in the dark depths. While the controls are familiar to a Souls game, they aren't nearly as responsive. The visuals don't have a strong identity, and without any clear narrative or stakes, it's hard to get invested in the struggle. And I definitely wouldn't play this on the Switch unless you hate yourself. With some more refinement, I could see this being a really cool section in an otherwise more expansive game. But as it is, it's mostly a curious diversion. Getting trapped in a creepy motel with horrific monsters in those mystery blacklight stains is one of my top fears. Sitting somewhere between killer clowns from outer space and whatever the hell's going on here.
Not the bears! Ah!
Oxide Room 104 takes this horrific concept and runs with it. No, not Nicolas Cage, although this is one of the most surprisingly awesome and unique horror games in some time, where you're trapped in a nightmarish motel filled with devious puzzles and horrific creatures. But the gameplay twist is unlike anything I've seen before. Developed by WildSphere, it was released in 2022 for last and current-gen Xbox and PlayStation consoles, PC, and Switch. In the brief setup, you're lured to an abandoned motel, where you're knocked out cold and wake up naked in a bloody bathtub. We've all been there, right? Now you have to find a way to get out alive. The game is like an escape room set in Silent Hill, where you search for clues, resources, and keys needed to escape. The rooms are like a puzzle, requiring you to make your way through each one until you can finally break free from this motel of horrors. With creatures and traps around every corner, there's no shortage of things out there wanting to end you in gruesome ways. But where's the twist, I hear you asking? Well, keep your pants on. Okay, so this is so cool. Each time you meet your very M-rated death, you wake up naked in the bloody bathtub of room 104 once again. But now, things have changed. The entire motel has changed. Each time you die, items move to new locations, enemies have shifted, and the means of escape is new. And these consequences build for each death. The world becomes progressively more horrific and dangerous, reminding me more and more of the nightmare world from Silent Hill. Your deaths and the choices you make also affect the ending, adding a ton of replayability. This has everything I look for in a horror game, with limited inventory, nightmare-fuel enemies, a dark and disturbing atmosphere, and a concept that remains fresh throughout. Other than the atrocious voice acting, this is damn near perfect and one worth checking out.
I don't like the sheets.
To complete this game 100%, you'll need to see all of the endings, find all the hidden documents, and finish a run without using the gun, so good luck with that. Expect around 8 hours to do everything. Check out my full review linked in the description just below the like button. Perception is a first-person horror game with someone or something that stalks you around a big old mansion. So far sounds
pretty standard, really.
So, where's the twist? Well, what if I told you this is a first-person game where you're blind? I know, right? Perception was developed by the Deep End Games and released for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch in 2017. Now, since this is a video game, it couldn't just be a black screen. No, you're able to use echolocation to get around. Sounds will briefly give a visual representation of room layouts, objects, and any threats, before the darkness comes rushing back in. The effect is similar to the groundbreaking cinematic experience from 2003 starring Ben Affleck, Daredevil.
I'm not the bad guy.
Now you can tap on things whenever you want to illuminate the spaces you're in, but doing so will attract the Presence, a sinister creature that's hunting you in the darkness. This creates tension between wanting to see where the hell you're going and the desire to not be eaten alive, though this sounds more terrifying than it actually is. Mostly having you feeling around in the dark or sitting in hiding spots waiting for the Presence to lose interest and move on. I expect some will find this tedious after a while, and toward the end, it started to wear thin for me as well. But the overall concept is so unique that it's worth checking out. And the depictions of blindness in modern day are a real highlight. Having you use things like a text-to-speech app on your phone to read the letters scattered throughout, or sending pics to a volunteer phone line operator who helps you interpret what you can't see. It was these glimmers that kept my interest throughout, and thankfully the game's short enough to not completely lose steam by the end. A single playthrough will only take about 4 hours, but you'll need 2 playthroughs to get the Platinum Trophy, with one where you never tap to see your surroundings. So yeah, have fun stumbling around in the dark. All in, you can 100% this game in under 8 hours.
You may not realize it, but you are sacred.
Add your voices.
There are a lot of horror games where eventually it's revealed to some outsider protagonist that there's a creepy cult behind all of the supernatural and spooky stuff going on, usually working from the shadows, only revealing the truth in the final acts. In the Chant, not only is the cult revealed early on, but you come to the realization that you are unknowingly a member of the cult. Sprinkle in some cosmic horror for good measure, and you have a totally distinct horror adventure. Released in late 2022 for PS5, PC, and Xbox Series consoles, The Chant was the first game developed by Brass Token, a a studio committed to creating truly unique gaming experiences by taking an off-kilter approach to familiar themes. And that's absolutely the case with the Chant. Soon after arriving at what you assume is a spiritual self-help camp, as you try to cope with the loss of your sister, you realize this island paradise has you trapped, and you're in grave danger. You can freely navigate crisscrossing paths of the remote island where you'll solve puzzles, uncover clues, and fight to stay alive. Thankfully, there's a fairly robust combat system to fight against the natural and not-so-natural threats. You'll find resources to craft different weapons based around New Age spirituality, with sage, salt, crystals, oils, and fire. And understanding each enemy's weaknesses and using that against them is the key. There's also a slight RPG system with 3 key stats that you'll manage and upgrade, including body for physical health, spirit, which is like mana or magic, and mind for your sanity. When your sanity drops too low, you'll panic, preventing you from fighting back until you find safety. As you complete certain actions like reading manuscripts, you'll upgrade your various stats. The overall vibe feels like the best from 60s and 70s horror like Rosemary's Baby or The Wicker Man, with its dreamlike paranoia. That's further reinforced by the electro rock and psychedelic music, alongside the giallo-esque colors that permeate the gloom. It'll take 6 to 7 hours for a single playthrough, but you'll need a few playthroughs to fully max out your mind, body, and spirit stats. To do everything, plan around 15 to 20 hours. I wouldn't try to power through in a single session, since the subsequent playthroughs will feel very samey, but it's a thoroughly enjoyable and totally unique experience that'll have you questioning those in your inner circle. Check out my full review linked below the like button. Hint hint.
Jesus, woman. You want me to have a heart attack?
The Beast Inside is a unique, gripping horror tale with a twist where an intertwining story spans centuries. This former Kickstarter project was the debut game developed by new studio Illusion Ray for PC and current-gen PlayStation and Xbox consoles, launching the day before my birthday in 2019. You play as Adam, great name by the way, a cryptanalyst for the CIA, who moves to an old house in the country. While exploring the dusty halls, you find a journal that details the story of a second protagonist from the distant past named Nicholas, who's in a fight for survival against a masked killer. As the game progresses, you'll slingshot back and forth between these two perspectives to uncover how these two stories are connected. Like your mom, it's not as clever as it seems at first, and you'll probably figure out where the story's going from a mile away. Though I still had a great time throughout. The tone shifts each time you bounce back and forth between the two eras. The past is focused on horror, filled with threats, whereas the present is more focused on exploration and solving puzzles. You'll get serious amnesia vibes, exploring the dark areas lit only by your kerosene-sucking lamp, while interacting with pretty much anything, even if there's no real purpose, making the world feel more real and alive. The stealth and combat mechanics aren't terrible, but feel undercooked, especially when compared to other recent titles. It does start to feel like the proverbial kitchen sink with everything thrown at you, occasionally losing focus, but the fantastic visuals and great atmosphere build a sense of dread, crescendoing into great scares. That are then followed up by 10 more jump scares. The game is at its best when focused on building atmosphere and the incredible puzzles. And I don't even really like puzzles, but they're just so well designed here with the right amount of direction to make you feel smart for solving them, but never feeling frustrated. And just check out how great this game looks. From the well-realized environments packed with details and interaction, to the great character models, all brought to life with the fantastic sound design. All in, you're looking at around 12 hours to do everything. The beast inside is a terrifying horror experience, and while I could have done with fewer jump scares, I have no reservations recommending this twisted tale. Let me know if this is a game you'd want me to do a full review on.
I am sitting the front line.
Last but not least is The Medium. This might as well have been Bloober Team's interview to take on the Silent Hill 2 remake, with its dreamlike psychological horror and focus on dual realities. Releasing in 2021 for current-gen PlayStation and Xbox consoles, PC, and Switch, The Medium is a masterclass on atmosphere and story. We follow Marianne, expertly voiced by Kelly Burke, who can connect with the other side. She is
the bouncer.
No, she's the medium. It's in the name. She's drawn to the abandoned Niwa Hotel to uncover the origin of her clairvoyant abilities. The story gets really heavy at times with some dark subject matter, but is so expertly paced and elegantly written that it doesn't slip into despair. Knowing Bloober Team's resume, the visuals are unsurprisingly incredible, making you forget this isn't a AAA release, with detailed textures, intricately crafted environments, with ray tracing making everything pop. The performance was solid at 4K, but only 30 frames a second, which is a bit disappointing but likely a trade-off considering the split screen mechanic. And that's the big unique twist with this game. At specific moments, the screen will split to reveal parallel spirit and physical worlds side by side, where you're suddenly controlling two versions of Marianne at the same time. I've never seen anything else quite like this before, and it's absolutely jaw-dropping the first few times, where both worlds are shown with a striking contrast between the flesh and bone Marianne exploring the dimly lit hotel corridors alongside her silver-haired spirit form stalking through a hellish alternate reality. Marianne doesn't just see this different version of the world, she can interact with it in clever ways and has a suite of psychic powers. From sensing traces that allow her to reconstruct ghostly scenes, to a psychic shield that can protect her from evil forces, and even a blast of energy used for puzzles. All of the other characters and enemies are visually striking, conveying so much with their designs alone. While there's no combat, you can be killed, keeping you always on edge. And every encounter with the Maw is absolutely butt-clenching. Getting all of the trophies is mostly about fully exploring each environment for every postcard, echo, memory shards, and more. Additionally, you'll want to be particularly stealthy around the Maw. You can expect under 10 hours to get the Platinum Trophy. Check out my full review if you want even more of my thoughts on The Medium.
It was the first time that had ever happened.
Alright, there are 6 of the most uniquely twisted games that won't waste your time. Now, what twisted game deserves more attention? Let's talk about it in the comments down below. If you liked the video, hit like and of course subscribe. And if you want more of my twisted content, check out my video right here. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.